So the most common question I get on this channel is, what is the best hair transplant clinic? But in this video, I'm going to explain why that is the wrong question and why you should stop asking about the best hair transplant clinic. And I'm going to give you a much better plan to help you find your ideal hair transplant clinic. Let's go. Watching My Hair Implants, the best YouTube channel on all things hair transplant. My name is Jabril. What do you mean you still haven't subscribed? I'm really curious, which hair transplant clinic are you thinking of going with? Just leave it in the comments below and people can tell you whether they've been there and they can actually give you some feedback. But let me kick off with a story to explain exactly how I kind of arrived at this conclusion. About a year ago, I remember reading a story about a guy from the UK who went to Turkey and had a really poor hair transplant result. He's from the north of England, as you can see. His hair transplant was, he basically ended up with a comb over. The growth was just negligible. The style was non-existent. It was just a terrible job all around. So I did a little bit digging and I read a little bit more on the story, and it turns out the guy actually got, the clinic itself was quite good. They had a good feedback, good reputation. They had lots of pictures and photo galleries. Everything looked fine. They had the right surgeons with decent experience, and even better, the client's friend has been to the clinic a few months before and had a spectacular result, and therefore told his friend that this clinic is solid, you should go with them because look at the results I've just had. It seemed like it was a no-brainer. This was just almost guaranteed success. It turned out to be an utter disaster. It was a complete failure, and that got me thinking, how could a good clinic that has already delivered good results for the client's friend fail so badly? And this is when I realized that even the best clinic might not be the right clinic for you. Let me give you another funny but real example. This car is the Ford Puma. It was voted Car of the Year in the UK for 2020. But I would never buy it. It's the wrong size, it's the wrong shape, it's just the wrong everything. It's not the right car for me. Even though all the experts say it's a great car, and I'm sure it's a great car, and some of you watching this might be happy to buy it, but it's just not the right car for me. This is what I mean by the best hair transplant clinic might not be the best one for you. So now let's dive in and find out some of the technical reasons why one clinic might be good for one client but completely wrong for another client. Well, the first reason why you should stop obsessing about finding the best clinic and worry about finding the right clinic for you is your hair type. Your hair type is unique to you. If your hair type is curly or straight or a mixture of both, your texture is also important. And some clinics might be fantastic with straight hair. They've done hundreds and thousands of straight hair clients, but they've not really done anything curly or anything wavy. So you have to really question their specialism and whether they are the right clinic for you. The opposite side, there might be clinics that have done loads of curly hair. That's mostly what they do. They're fantastic at that, but they don't have much experience with the other types of hair. Of course, no clinic is going to tell you, sorry, we can't work with your hair type. It's in their interest to tell you that yes, they can work with your hair type, and this is another challenge. The second factor we need to look at is hair loss. So both the extent and type of your hair loss, where you are basically on the Norwood scale. The Norwood scale gives you an idea about the extent of your hair loss. So if you are Norwood 3, you'll be something like this. If you are Norwood 6, you'll be something like this. And say, for example, a clinic has huge experience with working with really severely bald clients like Norwood 6 or Norwood 7. So they will have lots of experience doing mega sessions. A mega session is a hair transplant session where they implant lots of grafts, say 4,000, 5,000 and above in one sitting. Or a clinic might only have experience doing smaller sessions of say 1,000 or 2,000 grafts, which might mean they mostly work with people who are Norwood 2 or Norwood 3 rather than Norwood 6 or 7. So that's another area you need to focus on your specific scenario. Again, no clinic is going to tell you that, sorry, we don't really work with people who are kind of Norwood 6 or Norwood 7. It's not within our expertise. In fact, it's in their interest to tell you that they specifically do Norwood 6 and 7s, even if they don't, because Norwood 6 and Norwood 7 require more grafts. More grafts means more money for them. Interestingly, going back to our story about the guy who had the botched hair transplant, I mean, he was a Norwood 7 or something. He was like extremely bald. So maybe one of the reasons he failed with his hair transplant is because the clinic didn't really have any experience working with such mega numbers of grafts, or for people who are really extensively bald. The third factor that will determine the right clinic for you is the technique. So today there are three main techniques FUE, FUT, and there's also DHI. DHI is basically a variation of FUE. Now, most people end up having FUE, but FUT is actually right for some clients. So once you decide what technique you're going to go with, then the question is, does the clinic you intend to go to have expertise with that technique? Some clinics only do FUE. Some clinics only do FUT. So if you go and see these clinics, they will push you towards the technique that they're comfortable with. Okay? That doesn't mean that technique is right for you. You might be better off with, with a different technique. So this is where you need to really get an honest, independent assessment before you go with a clinic, because this plays a massive role in the success of your transplant or the failure of your transplant. By the way, if you're watching all this and you're thinking that, you do need to speak to somebody who's independent of the clinics, then I do offer a consultation service. I'll leave the links in the description below. This is a really huge factor, is the hairline design. This is really critical you get this right. Hairline design is not just medical, it's an art, and some clinics have better experience and better hairlines than others. So it's about getting the best design for your bone structure and for your age. So remember, if you decide to have a hair transplant, say in your 20s or 30s, that this might be something you carry on if you live that long into your 70s and 80s. So this is something you have to really bear in mind, choosing the best design for your bone structure and for your age. And your hair type also plays a role. So afro hairlines are different from, say, Caucasian hairlines. They're different from Asian hairlines. So this is another thing you have to evaluate the clinic for, whether they have done enough of your hair type in terms of hairline design. So it's really important to look at the expertise and the style of the surgeon. You can look at their previous work and see what kind of hairlines they do, whether they have experience with your type of hairlines, and so on. Another factor you need to look at is the aftercare, especially if your case is more complicated and you're more likely to require some intensive aftercare. So you need to look at the quality of aftercare, what sort of aftercare they promise if things go wrong, and if they have any plans, if there are any complications. Quick thing to say about the aftercare in Turkey, because Turkey, as I believe, is it part of the European Union? I don't think it is yet. So you don't really have as much legal protection, for example, if they were part of the EU, as if you go to Belgium or France or Spain. So the aftercare tends to be haphazard, as in you just agree, if something goes wrong, you just agree it there and then with the clinic, and they'll say, oh, we'll give you half your money back, and you say, no, I want all of it, and you kind of agree halfway. It's all kind of on the hoof. So it's really important you get the terms of the aftercare they provide very, very clear, as in, are they going to follow you up for 1 month? Are they going to follow you up for 6 months, for 1 year? What's included in the aftercare, all that stuff. So you need to be very, very selfish when you're looking for a clinic. You should only care about your personal circumstances. But the question is, what should be your plan now? How should you go about finding the right clinic for you? That's a very good question, sir. You have two options. Option numero uno is to do the research yourself, to really sit down. It will take months, and really educate yourself on everything about hair transplants. Go on forums, watch this channel, watch other channels, contact clinics, read their websites, become a complete student of the hair transplant industry. The second option is get a consultation with someone who is independent of the clinics, because remember, the clinics, it's in their interest to tell you that you should have a procedure with them, that you're the ideal client. So get an independent consultation with somebody. Shameless plug, I offer this service myself. I do consultations for people who just want to cut their research and just get a plan before they go to the clinic, so that they know exactly what they're getting into. Of course, this is a paid service, it's not free. If you are interested in this, I'll leave the links in the description below, or you can just contact me. Here are some other videos recommended just for you. Take care, see you soon.